Hello, my name is Rainer Hanekamp. This is News with the latest updates from the Angular community every week. The Angular documentary from Honeypod is available on YouTube. It covers the history of Angular and focuses on the early years. Summarized, we can say that there have been 4 phases, generations of the framework. The first one was obviously AngularJS, that's Angular version 1. It was written in JavaScript, gained a fan base quite quickly, and was the first among the big 3, that's React, Vue and Angular. The second phase was Angular version 2, and its transition meant a rewrite of the framework, but also a rewrite of any application which was using AngularJS at that time. Why did this happen? There was an interest from Google's internal ads department to use Angular, but they had one particular requirement, namely to use a static typed language, which eventually became TypeScript. This was actually a good thing.
It actually ended up being a way that we probably saved the Angular team from being disbanded.
We also were funded.
We actually grew the team tremendously. We went from like 3 or 4 people into about 12 people. It seemed like almost overnight.
The decision of not providing a backwards compatible API was a big blow for Angular. Surprisingly, the code quality of this rewritten framework was not considered to be a good one.
We all realized that Angular v2 was a mistake. So we did ship something knowing that this is not what we wanted to ship, but it was the best thing that we were able to ship at the time.
2 engineers, and they give a demo of this prototype that they've built of a different approach to rendering. It was the 4th prototype that they built, so they were using the Roman numerals IV.
It really ended up just becoming a textbook case of scope creep and turned into effectively a rewrite of the entire framework. 7 releases, so that's about 3.5 years.
So this rewrite became the 3rd generation of the Angular framework, but this time it had backwards compatibility. So for us developers, we just saw that we get a new renderer IV, but we didn't realize that under the hood, a 3rd rewrite has actually happened. At the end of the 3rd phase, we also saw a shift in the core team. Igor Minar, Mishko Hevery, Brad Green left the team, and Alex Rigabo, Jeremy Alborn, or Minko Getchev became the new public central faces. The 4th phase is where we are currently in. I wouldn't say it started already with version 14, where we got standalone components, but with 16 with Signals. Signals are the choice of the new reactive system instead of RxJS, and it's this mechanism internally that tells the Angular to update the DOM, to synchronize the DOM, because something of our application state has changed.
Perceived difficulty of learning RxJS, and this is essentially what Signals are doing. They are much simpler in nature. This is different, primitive in nature, because they completely bypass the notion of time.
The second important thing, and a completely new dimension in terms of Google's commitment, is the integration of the Wiz framework. Wiz is the framework that powers not just, but also Google's crown jewels, which is the search.
The strategy here is to open source the parts of Wiz that make sense and open source them through Angular. So for everyone who's sort of wondering whether Angular is going to survive, this convergence story means that Angular will be powering Google Search. And if that's sort of not a demonstration of Google's commitment towards Angular or the need for Angular to stay, then I don't know what is.
In other news, Angular 19.2 might become quite a big deal. We have seen some extensions to the resource being merged into the branch, and also HTTP resource, which is an alternative to the HTTP client when it comes to fetching data. That one still exists as a PR, but it would be great if it lands for 19.2. Edouard Bosson is doing some research in a no-build workflow. He makes use of the possibility to ship TypeScript directly into the browser. For dependencies and the actual framework, he is loading the compiled JavaScript files from CDNs via import maps. What's the benefit? The build process gets as far as it can get because there is none. Type checking, though, has to be done by using the CI, for example. And that's it. I wish you a nice week. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.